It's hard to believe, but I've been doing video production for 3 years now, full-time this year, predominantly video production. And I started out with an interesting theory or strategy that when I came out of 2024, I wanted to have my full filmmaking kit sort of squared away. So I didn't want I wanted to be able to go out in 2025 and make whatever creative thing I wanted to make where, you know, the content of my kit wouldn't be a limitation. And it's put me in an interesting position coming out of 2025, where for the last year, I've had to sort of feel the joys or the pain points of having to live with those decisions that I made as I assembled my camera kit in 2024, the previous year. But especially concluding 2025, a year where I had to really scrutinize and justify every equipment purchase that I bought. From a business perspective, I thought that it would be interesting, or at least worthwhile, to take a look back at all of the kit that I've bought the last couple years and look at maybe cheap things that gave me an outsized value, or a few expensive things that left me disappointed. Okay, before we get into the junk, as a way of introduction, my name's Matt, and I'm increasingly feeling like a unicorn on this platform because I enjoy reviewing and analyzing and nerding out about cameras and lenses and lights and stuff, and so that's cool to me, but from a perspective of someone who enjoys creating stuff with it. So if you want to throw back to the halcyon days of 2017, feel free to leave a thumbs up on this video, like, and subscribe. So speaking of 2017, that is the year that I acquired this excellent camera bag. So it's been with me for a while, and I have to say I've got my use out of it, but this year was the year that it just expired. You can see the you can see the threads ripping on the arms. It's just waiting to cause an incident with the gear that it's supposed to protect. So it's one of the things, an investment that I had to make this year was replacing this bag. And I didn't look forward to it. But I've also got this bag, and I don't keep cameras and lenses and stuff in these bags. These are bags where I keep cables and maybe it's things as sensitive as microphones and memory cards, but predominantly clamps and fixtures and that kind of stuff. And I used to lug that stuff all around in 2 bags. The bag I just showed you and this like Harbor Freight tool bag. And it was a handy solution. But when it came time to replace these bags, I was shopping on Amazon, and you know, apparently my fiance just has a spidey sense that tingles when I'm about to waste money, because she walks into the room and says, "What you doing?" And I told her I was shopping for a replacement camera bag because this thing's about to, you know, cause an accident or an incident. And she says, "Well, how much is that gonna cost?" And I'm like, "Babe, the cheapest one I can find on here is like $60 or $70, and I'm about to drop $60 or $70 on a camera bag." And she says, "Well, why not just a backpack?" And you know, we go through the thing. You guys know what you need in a camera bag. I'm like, I need it to open from the top. I need to be able to get into the stuff, not have to dig through the stuff to get to the stuff. And kind of just try to describe what the basic needs are for an equipment bag. And she said, well, why not a lunchbox?" And I said, "Babe, are you crazy? There is no way that a lunchbox is going to satisfy this professional purpose." And that's when I found this. Sure, I said, I'll just type the word big lunchbox into Amazon and see what comes up. And lo and behold, I found this very impressive, quote unquote, tactical lunchbox in my Amazon search results. Extension cords and clamps and cables. Guys, this thing was like 20 bucks. And it is better than any camera bag I have ever owned or used. Not for your sensitive, delicate things, but for all that other stuff that you're probably carrying around in 2 or 3 different bags. Get it. It's insulated too. Buy now. Okay, now it's time to show you a purchase that did not impress me so much. I'm showing it to you now. This is the Rode Wireless Pro, and it is among the things that if I were to go back and repurchase stuff that I bought in 2024, like, this is probably one of the things that I might rethink. This is a great solution, by the way. Love the way it sounds. I mean, you can hear it now, but man, has this given me a lot of frustrations for a quote unquote pro product. And it feels like that's really ringing true right now, because recently one of the purchases that I did have to make in 2025 was to repurchase most of the accessories that come with a Rode Wireless Pro, because they're either broken, for example, these lavalier clips, or because they simply got lost, because everything that comes with the Rode Wireless Pro, it just comes in this one storage case with like no pockets or dividers, and every time you have to get any random thing out of it for, you know, a certain situation, everything's got to come out of the case and go back into the case. That's one frustration with this product, and it's the specific frustration that I think has led to my having to repurchase so many of these dainty and poorly designed little accessories. But it is not my only frustration with the product. I don't want to do like a full scathing review of this. It's not all terrible. In fact, it sounds great, and there's some functionality here that I love. But, you know, considering how much headache it's been, even with simple things like figuring out which transmitter or receiver has to go into which slot in this case, and they all look identical, and they're very difficult to control, considering that the screen is on top of it if you're operating it from behind a camera, etc., etc. The product feels unrefined, poorly thought out, and the design of the product, the poor design of the product, redounds in myriad headaches and unnecessary complications on shoot days. And that really is the primary reason, in addition to this also poorly thought out accessory collection, that if I had to go back in time and rebuy a solution for wireless audio in 2024, 2025, or even this year, I probably would opt for the DJI Mic 2. Actually, I told you that I would share examples of creative work that demonstrates the points that I'm trying to make with this equipment. So if you're like in a rushed and or dimly lit situation, and you have to make a critical configuration change with the microphones, you're going to find that to be very difficult. And that's what happened to me in the instance where I had to record a speech at a wedding rehearsal dinner.
His breath. Funny. Really haven't changed things.
Who knew 6 years later I'd be standing
In a video that's linked in the description. Let me walk through the video description really quickly, because I think here's what's going to happen down there in the video description if you're hanging out down there. First, you're going to see a link to my Amazon baby registry. I'm having a baby, having my first baby. Anyone watching this video feeling generous can send us something from our baby registry, and we appreciate it. Second, you're going to see a list of links to affiliate descriptions of the stuff that I'm demonstrating in the video. So something you like, something you hate, you can check out where it's priced on Amazon and purchase it with no extra cost to you. That provides me a small commission for giving you this advice. And below that, you'll see a list of creative work, and then the list of the equipment that I used to film this video, some of which will be redundant. So next, we'll stick with things I hate. I suspect that's what most of you want to see. And so to show you the next thing that I hate, because it's also something I'm using to film this video, let me zoom the camera out a little bit. So hate may be a strong word here. This is actually a product that's solving quite a few problems for me in video production, and I'll try to get where you can see the whole thing. This is a Godox F400 by panel LED light, and it's the light that I'm using to light me for this video. So you can see it looks okay, but not spectacular, and that's kind of by and large, that's my comment for this light. So, and this is, oh shoot. This is what the ballast looks like, and I'll bring the box in here too so you can see that. And because the whole thing packs up into an impressive case. You can see that this could lay flat, so that it could light up a room where you wouldn't ordinarily be able to fit a big cob light with a fixture like a softbox or an umbrella on it. And so considering how small it packs down, how light it is, how much light it can output, this is competing with sunlight. You would think this would be a highly favorited product of mine, but that's not the case. Speaking of case, this is the case. So, you know, if you're used to carrying light fixtures that do what this does, If this were a cob or a point source light fixture, the case would probably be twice to 3 times this size. So right, there are lots of positives to this product, and by and large, I'm glad that I have it for those situations where, you know, this is the only thing that solves the problem. Namely, there's not enough ceiling clearance, right, to get a big light fixture in. So I'm glad that I have it for those situations, but why this has been a little disappointing is that because this is not as attractive of a light output, not as diffuse, not as soft, and really not quite as bright, right? This is a 400 watt fixture where normally I would prefer to have something like a 600 watt fixture. Because of that, this is not what I thought it might be, or what it's marketed to be, which is a replacement for my point light source fixtures. So I think I bought this thinking it was going to provide me the value, maybe the headroom to sell off some of those fixtures, to not carry them around as much. But in fact, I prefer the look of my point source fixtures so much compared to this that if I'm going to a job and I'm not sure like what the ceiling clearance is, and I'm not sure what I'm getting into, I'm carrying both with me, so it's not really saving me anything, right? And this was advertised because I'll try to show you a picture, but the lights are all really spread out in here, and so this is marketed as something that's sort of like pre-diffused and sort of like automatically already soft without any extra diffusion. And in short, this hasn't replaced my cob lights, it's just sort of supplemented my cob lights. So it hasn't quite given me the value for the price that I might have hoped to get out of it. But if I'm being completely honest, I did make a very modest investment into expanding my lighting kit this year, even though I told myself that I wasn't going to buy anything that wasn't completely necessary. And I found a 300 watt RGB lighting solution that runs off a 99 watt hour battery, and I bought the whole thing with the stand for like 300 bucks, and I will link that in the description because that's been amazing, and I don't want to mislead you into thinking I didn't buy anything this year. But one lighting game changer that has actually given me much more value this year costs, I think, $15, and it's a set of gels that let me use my daylight balanced lights along with my bicolor lights to light up incandescent or like 3200 Kelvin LED lit rooms. And I'll show you a video here where I was able to use that light with the gel to supplement other 3200 Kelvin balanced lights.
Creation so that Christy could spend more time with her customers instead of on social media.
We're seeing the results already, and we couldn't be happier.
Lights and give them sort of a second life by equipping them with $15 worth of gels. Definitely check this item out in the video description. Okay, so while I probably should be lamenting that this wasn't a sort of 3 things and 3 things list, I'm actually kind of patting myself on the back because what's happened here is right out of the like $40,000 worth of gear that I invested in 2024, really all that I have to complain about is like this $300 microphone and you know, having an extra light that's not necessarily giving me as much value as a light that I would use every day. And I've gone the entire year of 2025 having bought, you know, aside from my little $300 lighting splurge, right? I've bought like less than $100 worth of stuff, I guess. I haven't done my accounting yet for 2025, but I'd be surprised if I spent more than $100, and I'm getting tremendous value out of those very modest investments. Like I even reused my SSDs this year. It's been a banner year for minimizing operating expenses to maximize profitability. But I'm curious what you think about that. What do you think about my approach? Was it wise to buy a bunch of gear all at once and then sort of have a big profitable year? How would you do it? What would your approach be? And what do you think about my gear selections? Do you love this light? Do you love this microphone? Do you hate working with gels? Like, give me your feedback in the comments. Until I see you guys next time, you keep an eye out and a foot forward. And thanks for watching. Bye.